Football is a simple game. 22 men chases a ball, and if Alistair doesn't go to the match, Lazio win. This is Lazio Lounge, your favorite Lazio podcast. Hello everybody, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile, with me Alistair McKenzie. Alistair, do you like the new intro?
No. Every time you say this, I get more messages from people. the kind of legend is turning into a myth, and I'm soon going to have kind of protests outside my flat every time I actually try and head to the stadium. So needs to stop, Vittorio, this anti-Alistair at the stadium agenda you've got.
We're going to make shirts very soon, so don't worry. Keep going. We have to talk about Lazio Milan. We said it was a final. We said Lazio needed to win this match, and we did it, Alistair. 3-0, great performance from Lazio. I mean, every time Tucu Correa sees AC Milan, he scores. So we should play every time against AC Milan, right? And Andrew asked us, how many goals per season does Correa scores if he plays in the Super League? Well, it depends if Milan plays in the Super League, right, Alistair?
Yeah, thankfully we'll never know the answer to that question. I mean, it has been kind of poetic that in the course of the last week, since the Super League has basically fallen into a heap on the floor, Juventus and Milan have both ended up very much at risk of losing Champions League spots. It's a thing of beauty, and for Lazio to play a part in that, even better. You're right, Tucu Correa, what a strange player. What a strange player, but we can get onto that. But yeah, I mean, another great performance from him against Milan. His best performance of the season, I would say. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. The funny fact is that in the last 4 matches, he made 4 goals and 2 assists. No, 3 goals and 2 assists. So, I mean, he stepped up in the right moment, or maybe it's too late, Alistair.
Well, this is the point I made eventually last night on Twitter, is just that I find him really strange player because we talked last week, I think, about the fact that he doesn't produce that many goals for a striker, and he's been here for long enough by now that you feel like if he was going to go on an amazing run of goal scoring form, he would have done it by now. So he's not producing a lot of goals, but then as soon as you think of goals Correa has scored, they're always in big moments. He's the semi-final against Milan, and then the final against Atalanta in the Coppa Italia, and then the goal at San Siro, which was our first win away to Milan since, 89, I think it was, something like that. And then this season, I think he scored something like 9 goals, but 6 of them have been either in the Champions League or against Juventus, Milan, and Atalanta. It's this crazy... Well, I don't think we can call it a coincidence. It just seems to be that he's at his best when he's playing big teams. And now a lot of people made the point to me, which I think is bang on, that's probably because Lazio's style changes in these games, right? And Lazio can counterattack more effectively against teams who are going to be willing to, try and control possession and push higher up the pitch. So do you think it's just that Correa is a lot more effective in games against big teams because big teams are going to give him more space?
Well, that's definitely a valid point, and it's true. The other thing is, Correa is quite fast in the short space, so playing close to Ciro Immobile like he did yesterday was definitely a nice move from Lazio. But I think it's probably concentration that make the difference. Against big team, he's more focused, and yesterday he had the same amount of chances he had in other games. The only difference is he scored twice, while usually he wasted all of the chances he had. And now we're going to talk about how Correa has been good. But in the first goal, it wasn't easy because when he dribbled past Donnarumma, the ball's bounced badly and he's on the back foot and he's able to control his body and put the ball in the net. I was sure he would have missed the ball there. And in the second goal again, he didn't have that much space to score. So, it's not only that he went full speed, etc. He was really focused to score those goals.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Also, he's like lots of these players. I think he's a bit of a confidence player, and the best thing that can possibly happen to a Tucu Correa in a match is for him to score within 77 seconds of it starting, which incidentally is apparently the fastest goal that's scored in Serie A since Opta at least started recording data in, I think it's 2004. So, I mean, it's the best possible start. After that, he's confident. He knows Lazio winning. It means that Milan are going to push higher up, which then therefore gives him even more space on those counter-attacks. But the second goal was brilliant. I mean, such a good finish. To skin Tomori, who the Italian media have been salivating over for the last
exaggeration for me
4 months. Just went past him like he wasn't there, and then to score from that angle against a goalkeeper like Donnarumma, who we saw how good he is with his save on Ciro early on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible piece of skill from him, and I hope we see more of it. But I wouldn't necessarily expect to see this every week because, like I say, I think when we're up against 10 men defending against Genoa next weekend, it's going to be a totally different kind of challenge.
Murici time, I think.
Perhaps, yeah.
But not in central defense, as you were saying before.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been asked about Acerbi, obviously got yellow carded. He's going to be suspended for that game, so who starts in central defense? I mean, come on, Vittorio, why not Murici? Batting away those headers,
So we'll have Marulic, that it's a left wing playing a central defender, a striker that plays central defender, and finally a central defender like Radu that plays central defender. Make totally sense. It's going to be a big question mark, Alistair, anyway, because Hurt and Musacchio didn't play a lot in the last month or so. So
No.
I can see Inzaghi playing Parolo there instead of them.
I'm sure it'll be Hurt. Well, maybe Parolo, yeah, that's a good point. I guess, but the thing is, he does kind of trust Hurt, and he did play a lot of Champions League matches in that position, when Acerbi was being pushed out to the left. And I think because it's Genoa, I mean, if we look back to last season, for example, I think Dennis Favro's only ever game for Lazio was against Genoa. So
Probably his best game as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Inzaghi's got a record of, at least being willing to give people a chance against Genoa. I hate playing Genoa.
Yeah.
It's one of these fixtures that has obviously always been a bogey game for Lazio, and
Especially away.
And this is the hard thing, isn't it? Following up a result like this, 3-0 against Milan, it means nothing if you then go and don't beat Genoa. So it's, well, firstly, let's focus on the positives. We've been talking for ages, no convincing performances. We're winning 5 games in a row before the Napoli game, not convinced by any of them, keep having to score late goals, keep winning by 1 goal, then all of a sudden 3 goals against Milan. How much of it do you put down to Milan's struggles, and how much to Lazio being good?
That's complicated. I thought Milan played well in the first half after Lazio scored. After 20 minutes, Milan came out and created a lot of chances. But in the second half, Milan didn't do nothing. Obviously, Mandzukic disappeared, and the lack of a real number 9 hurt Milan a lot. When Leao came in, he didn't do nothing. So that definitely helped Lazio. But yeah, I think we have to give credit a little bit to Lazio. As Oliver Field is saying, how old is Leva? 38 against Napoli and 25 against Milan. I thought he had a great second half, right? I thought this was the first time in ages that Leva had a great second half. I didn't like him in the first half. In the second half, he stepped up and stopped AC Milan. So big credit to Leva. I don't know, because we saw Lazio playing really poorly against Napoli just a couple of days ago. And we are seeing that Napoli is flying. Milan is struggling, and Lazio played great against Milan. I don't know. I would say 50-50.
Yeah, well, obviously Lucas has been listening to Lazio Line, hasn't he? Because he must have heard us after the Napoli game saying maybe in the summer it's time for a new number one in that position. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think the point we've made time and again really is that if Lucas has a good game in big matches, it makes all the difference. It does always prove to be absolutely essential in getting a result. To get a clean sheet in this match, as well as scoring 3 goals, is just totally unexpected for me. I mean, I knew, like we were saying in the preview, we both knew that Milan are struggling, that they just lost to Sassuolo, that their form's not good. But I'd never expected 3-0. Never expected 3-0. And it could have been more, you know. Ciro hit the post with his lob. He had another shot brilliantly saved by Donnarumma. Like I said, Lazzari's kneecap offside.
Only to Lazio this thing can happen, right?
Now, one thing. We got told off last week because we forgot to talk about the referee, which we did mean to talk about, but we ended up getting derailed talking about other things. I think what we can say probably safely this time is that what goes around comes around.
Yep, definitely.
What do you think?
You know what? Watching the replay of that tackle, I thought it was a foul, but it looks like Rizzoli, but I can find the quotes now, said that for him it was a simple football tackle and that the VR should have been called, but I cannot find it anymore. So I don't know if these quotes are real or not.
The other point I would make, I mean, like you, I thought as soon as I saw the replay, I thought, well, that's getting to Solai because he's kind of come through the back and clipped Çalhanoğlu's leg. But the thing to consider as well is that Orsato, which seems to annoy a lot of people, but I actually quite like his style. He's very lenient. He does allow the game to flow more because he doesn't blow his whistle every time there's 2 players coming together. He doesn't blow his whistle every time someone falls over. He is probably the most lenient referee in Serie A in that way. And people complain about that because they say this is a foul, that's a foul, this is a yellow card, that should be a red card, blah, 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 and he doesn't give them. But I would say that decision was probably consistent with his refereeing in the game because there were a lot of moments in that match when he didn't blow the whistle for fouls similar to that. So if he's going to then give that as a foul, we complained about consistency of referees time and again, and that would have been an inconsistent decision, I would say.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, there were a couple of fouls that I would have loved to have, and Orsato simply didn't give. So we said it, right? We said it often that the problem we have is that you cannot whistle that foul for the A team and then play on when it's for Lazio. So, and again, I mean, we saw incredible things happen just a couple of days ago against Lazio at Napoli. So, I mean, and the other big important thing is that I don't agree is Ambrosini yesterday on Sky said, well, the second goal killed AC Milan. I would like to say to Ambrosini, go and watch Cagliari Lazio and tell me what happened in the last 5 minutes in the extra time. You know, in the modern football era, we see a lot of teams down 2-0 and go win 3-2. So, you know, that's an excuse that you give to AC Milan.
Who would have thought Ambrosini would be supportive of AC Milan in these situations?
Yeah, I don't know. Did he ever play with Milan? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking ahead, what do you think? We said last week before this game, Lazio have to win this to still be in the top 4 race. Now, Lazio top 4 race. How are you feeling about it?
Well,
I did get a comment last night saying, is this just being too optimistic? Basically, you know, are we still being too optimistic to feel like we're involved in this?
Well,
but I think you have to look at the fixtures as well to come to an answer. But anyway,
that's the thing, right? It's true. Lazio is 5 points behind, but has a match on hand against Torino, who's playing well. They have been battered by Napoli yesterday, so this tells you that against good team, Torino can lose. But two things I would point out, Alistair. One is that watching Milan and Juventus in the last couple of weeks, they have been terrible. I thought Milan and Lazio and Juventus got more points that they deserve in the last couple of weeks. Milan have been really, really lucky against Genoa. They didn't deserve to win that match. Juventus was lucky to get a point against Fiorentina. So they are really, really struggling. If Lazio had to make the race against Napoli and Atalanta, I would tell you now we have no chance. Those two teams are flying. On the other hand, though, Milan and Juventus are really, really struggling. And then you go and watch the fixture. Lazio fixture is not amazing, but it's not that bad. Milan has Benevento, who's fighting for relegation. Juventus Milan, so one of the two will lose points. Torino Milan against Torino's fighting for relegation. Milan Cagliari, as before, Cagliari have beaten Roma, they are fighting for relegation. And then the last match is Atalanta Milan, another difficult. So it wouldn't be impossible that Milan makes 0 points in the last 5 matches. It's gonna be very hard, but they can easily lose all of them or get a couple of points out of that. So this is where we have to focus. Lazio have to win more matches as possible, but on the other hand, Milan could really, really make few points in the last 5 matches, right?
Yeah, and obviously Lazio have to get past 2 teams to finish in the top 4. But I think that's the important thing, is that there are these head-to-head games, so there are teams guaranteed to drop points. Obviously, Lazio, it's unlikely they go and win every remaining match, but it is possible. Lazio's only remaining big match is obviously the derby, which is a big match, but is also against a Roma side that are, embarrassing themselves week in, week out at the moment in the league. Whereas, Juve Milan, they play each other, that means one of those teams drop points. Atalanta Milan means one of those teams will drop points. I mean, I think Atalanta and Napoli, like you, I think they're both going to finish in the top 4, but there are opportunities for Lazio to catch up more, not so much because of what Lazio have to do as because of what the other teams have ahead of them.
Yeah, and looking the fixture, Juventus is even worse than one against Milan. They have Udinese Juventus, that is probably the easiest match they have. Then there is Juventus Milan, Sassuolo Juventus, Juve Inter, and I think even if Inter wants already the Scudetto, they're gonna fight for that match. Atalanta Juventus, again, very difficult. And Bologna Juventus, that could be the other easy match if Bologna is safe from everything. But Juve could lose easily 3 matches against Atalanta, Inter and Sassuolo, and then Milan Juventus, one of them would drop points. So you see, they have tough fixture, and looking how they're playing, I mean, every match could be very difficult for them.
Yeah, we had a comment from Philip Pizzano who said, how good would it be to have a top 4 with Atalanta, Napoli and Lazio? I'm assuming he also means Inter. And it would, wouldn't it? I mean, not just for us, but for football.
For the Super League.
After the Super League stuff, for Juve and Milan to both finish out of the top 4, it would be quite funny.
Definitely.
As much as anything else. But yeah, all to play for. I mean, it's turning into, once you take away the fact that Inter are going to win the league, and at least that is more exciting than Juve winning it again. But once you take that away, the fight for this top 4, and then if you look at the relegation battle, I mean, it's a pretty amazing climax we're going to get to this season in Serie A. And I think what makes it more interesting is the fact that there are so many teams involved in that relegation battle. Like you were saying, going through the fixtures there, a lot of these fixtures that might on another year be kind of easy games at the end of the season against teams with nothing to play for are now not going to be like that, because we have a group of 6 teams or something or more at the bottom of the table who are trying to avoid relegation. So like we saw with Fiorentina Juve on the weekend, league position isn't always going to matter in these games.
Yes, definitely. And Sassuolo, for example, is close to Roma. They could win just to reach the 7th point, seventh position and maybe get to the Confederation Cup and things like that. The relegation battle is really on. Torino has been playing great. Cagliari has been winning the last 3. So, even Spezia is in the fight. Fiorentina is in the fight. So it's going to be really interesting. And as I said, Juventus and Milan are really struggling. Milan is now 5th. They were 2nd just a couple of weeks ago. They're really going down. So it's not easy. Definitely it's not easy. But it's not impossible, especially seeing Juventus and Milan. And on the other side, Alistair, the biggest question is, if Correa start playing like that, if Ciro Immobile, who scored again, will step up like he did in the last couple of weeks, if Luis Alberto, I mean, what happened yesterday? Do they still call it assist?
I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, it's quite funny. It was a great pass, but Correa still had a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's not like he put it on a plate for him. But I mean, he'll take anything at this stage. It's amazing we've had to wait this long for his first assist of the season. But I just thought it was quite funny that although it was a great pass, the first assist he gets is actually pretty much just an individual piece of brilliance from Correa. But yeah, you're right. I mean, getting in form at the right time of the season, that's key. Lazio has been in terrific form. Milinkovic-Savic has been pretty unbelievable all season, but especially recently. Alberto finally getting an assist again. Those front 2, yeah. I mean, that's what we want, and it's settled. We may have debated that it's settled because we don't necessarily like Reina in goals or Marasic at centre back, but if it's happening every week, then it's probably good for a sense of continuity. The only thing is, which Steven Scarbola pointed out to us on Twitter, they've gone and confirmed the Torino game for the 18th, I think it is, of May, which is basically tucked between the second last and final weekends of the season. That's because there's still an appeal to be heard, I think, at Coney, isn't there? Which I can't imagine it'll be overturned, but it does mean that Lazio have games every 3 days for the most important week of the season, whereas other teams will have a full week to prepare. So how do you feel about that? I mean, it's good to get a date, isn't it? But maybe not the date we wanted.
Yeah, no, I think we can say that Lazio's never very lucky. So this will only create problems. We have to see what happens with Roma in Europe League, because Roma could be out of everything when we play against them. So maybe that will give them, the only thing they have to do is beat Lazio. So that could create some problems. On the other side, we have to see, because if it's far away, maybe Torino is already safe. So, that could be an easier match than we fear for. The other thing, Alistair, is going back to Luis Alberto. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, what would you prefer, though? Would you prefer Lazio have an easier game because Torino are safe, or would you prefer Lazio to relegate Torino by beating them?
Well, the thing is, Torino's playing against Juventus, I think, one of the last games, right? No, against Milan. So, well, they could beat Milan and be safe. So, yeah, that could be perfect, right?
It would be quite nice after everything that's happened this season between Lazio, Torino, Cairo, Tito, Gazzetta, all this stuff. It would be quite nice.
The thing I wanted to point it out is that when Ciro Immobile hit the post and I was already celebrating because I thought he scored, that was an assist of Luis Alberto, and I thought that was a sweet assist, right? So this season, Luis Alberto was very unlucky because when he delivered an assist, Ciro Immobile all the time wasted it. So that's a little bit strange, I would say. The other thing, Alistair, watching Lazio Milan, I thought Lazio is underusing Lazzari. Every time Lazzari had time and space, he's a threat. Often Lazio's playing on the left side and Lazzari is all alone on the other side. If Lazio move the ball faster to the other side, more often. Lazzari could have been, game changer in more matches. I think this is something Inzaghi should work on.
Yeah, but it's again, it's kind of like the Correa question, where Lazzari really comes alive when he's given that kind of space. A lot of people who only really watch Lazio in the big games are amazed by Lazzari because they watched him against Bayern or they've watched him against Milan or whatever, and yeah, it's a totally different story when he's up against a closed defence. I mean, it's definitely a weapon that I think Lazio are using more this season, I would say. I think he's been far more effective in an attacking sense this year, both in terms of goals and assists and just his contribution in the final third than he was before. But yeah, what did you think of Lulic? Back in the team again, a bit of a surprise maybe to have him starting.
Well, I thought that Inzaghi, as usual, in the key match went back to his senators, right? So Lulic in. I read a tweet that made me laugh, but it's still true. Is that Lulic, after 10 years, still make the same move and still Serie A defenders still get fooled from that, right? He always do the same move. The first time I saw it yesterday, I said, I cannot believe it. This is every time he do the same, and I don't know.
It is great though. It's iconic. You mean the kind of feint where he kind of dummies to pass and then he just goes straight down the line.
Yeah. The thing is, I thought Lulic didn't play that bad. I thought he played well, better than usual. The problem is when Fares came in, he was awful. He was like not focused at all in the match.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the best we've seen Lulic play since he came back from injury, I'd say, probably. Not that it was, a faultless performance at all, but I think he's been really unimpressive quite often since he's come back, and he did at least look like he was, capable yesterday, which is good. But yeah, I mean that's the thing with Lazzari as well, is that you need someone to kind of counteract him, counterbalance, I should say. It's kind of like the way that Milan were playing earlier this season, where Theo Hernandez was essentially a kind of auxiliary striker at times from left back, and he'd just charge through the centre of the pitch and join all the attacks. And as a result, Calabria was always kind of sitting back a bit more. And I guess Lazio, if they want Lazzari to be that attacking weapon, once they eventually find someone who's going to play on the left, it maybe has to be someone who's got to have a bit more balance instead of someone who's just going to fly forward at the same time and leave the team exposed.
One other thing, I don't know if you noticed, at a certain time Lazio was playing with a 4-man defense, with Marusic sliding and Lulic coming a little bit back. I thought that was an interesting move from Inzaghi, and probably that's why he opted for Lulic rather than Fares, and created a little bit of problems for AC Milan. Again, AC Milan, they're really struggling in attack without Ibrahimovic, but even Ibra hasn't been scoring a lot. Mandzukic really was a former player. It's funny because I don't know if you tweeted yesterday or someone else. Since Milan stopped having penalty, they're pretty much dropping in the table, right? So it makes me wonder, without all those penalty, where would Milan be?
It wasn't me who tweeted that, but yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean you can say the same thing about Lazio last season. I guess got lots of penalties. I mean you do generally get the penalties from being in the right positions and attacking and earning them rather than being handed them. But yeah, no, it's a good point. I don't know. I think they're asking a lot from Ibrahimovic to come back from injury at this age and kind of take them out of this hole. This is Pioli, though. We saw it at Lazio. We've seen it at Inter. We've seen it at Fiorentina. His teams will blow you away, and everyone will fall in love with them because they play great football when they're at their best, generally. And as soon as things go wrong, he struggles. it happened, with that Lazio team with Felipe Anderson and so on, and he couldn't find a plan B and eventually got sacked.
Yep, I totally agree.
I think we're seeing it again.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you. Before we wrap it up, Alistair, after seeing Correa performance in the last month or so, do you think Lazio should keep him, or maybe it's the right time to sell him?
It's funny, isn't it, how much can change in a few days? Because we had this conversation a few days ago, and I was saying, this is the thing, I guess, is that Terry was talking before the game about the fact that we need to rejuvenate the squad in the summer and bring down the average age. I mean, it was, 31 and a half years yesterday, the average age of the team. Clearly, it needs to be rejuvenated, and to do that, we're going to have to spend money. And this is, I guess, the problem is that how much money Lazio are going to be willing to spend without selling, and if they are going to be selling, and you look at the players you're wanting to keep to move the team forward, Correa probably is that kind of player who will actually bring you in a good fee without kind of totally disrupting the overall squad. Well, you could argue that because maybe it would disrupt the squad more than we expect, but I don't know. I mean, I prefer not to lose him. Obviously, it's just a case of would you sacrifice him in order to bring in 3 young players who are going to be in the right positions and help bring down the average age of the squad? And if that was the case, I'd probably say yes.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's difficult to decide. You also have to see the offers. I mean, if someone comes with 50 million, 60, then it's a different matter. If they offer only 10, then it's not worth it. Before we wrap it up, Alistair, we have a surprise for our followers, right? Because we've been talking with Paul Gascoigne agent, and for the first time, you can buy the Lazio shirt of Paul Gascoigne, signed from Paul Gascoigne. We will leave the link in the description. It's directly done by Paul Gazza, so all the money goes to Gazza, and it's the first time that you can have this opportunity to get the Lazio shirt, signed from Paul Gascoigne. So hurry up, because there are not that many. And I mean, if you're a Lazio fan, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, it's a quite exciting opportunity, I think, isn't it? Because there's not many of these shirts in circulation, especially the ones with the names on the back. And yeah, collector's items.
Definitely.
I know you're a fan. I don't know where your Strakosha signed shirt has gone, but it was there once upon a time.
Yeah, when I was in Leeds, I had space. I asked my wife. She said, "Oh, Gazza or me." So filling the paper for the divorce, and then it's done. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. Remember, you can follow us on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to support our podcast, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. If you're interested in Alistair's new t-shirt, just write us a message. They're going to be available soon. And again, we're going to talk after Genoa Lazio. Terrible match, terrible memories, I would say, from Genoa Lazio. But we hope things have changed. Thank you again, Alistair.
Cheers.